Welcome to today's explainer. If you currently rent your home, you are definitely going to want to stick around for this one. Today, we're diving straight into the source material to translate some pretty complex renting laws right into plain English. We're going to figure out exactly what your rights are when it comes to your private space, when a landlord is actually allowed to enter, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself. So picture this highly unsettling scenario. You get home from work, you're exhausted, and you just want to relax. But the second you walk in the door, something just feels off. A chair in the living room is pushed out of place. Your bathroom door, which you specifically remember shutting, is wide open. And then your phone buzzes. You look down and it's a text from your landlord saying, "Hey, stop by to check on a few things." They were in your apartment, without asking, without warning. It is an incredibly invasive feeling, right? Well, here's what a lot of renters simply do not know. In most states across America, what just happened is completely illegal. Your landlord just broke the law, and you actually have real, enforceable rights that you can act on right now. Real quick, before we get into the specifics, a brief disclaimer. This educational explainer is here to empower you with a plain English understanding of your rights. It's not formal legal advice. And as we'll see a bit later, the laws do vary depending on what state you live in. So if you're ever dealing with a serious escalating situation, absolutely consult a licensed attorney. But for our purposes today, this explainer is going to give you the exact foundation you need to understand where you stand. Okay, let's dive into Section 1, the right to quiet enjoyment. So let's look closely at this concept. When you sign a lease, you legally gain what's called the right to quiet enjoyment. Sounds like a lot of legal jargon, right? But let's break that down into plain English. It literally just means that you have a legal right to treat your rented apartment as your own undisturbed private space. Yes, the landlord owns the physical building. That's a fact. But while you're paying rent and living there, they absolutely cannot just waltz in whenever they feel like it. That space is yours. 24. That is the magic number to remember here. In most states, landlords are legally required to give you at least 24 hours of notice before entering your unit. And hey, in some states, it's actually 48 hours. Furthermore, that entry usually has to happen during normal business hours. Think weekdays between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. So if your landlord comes knocking on your door on a Saturday night at 9 p.m. without any prior warning, no, that is almost certainly a direct violation of the law. So how do they actually have to let you know they're coming? It's pretty straightforward. A simple text message, an email, a phone call, or even just a traditional written note slipped under your door. All of those typically qualify. The absolute key requirement here is advance warning. You have to be told ahead of time before they ever turn a key in your lock. Which brings us right to Section 2, when landlords can enter. There are basically 4 specific scenarios where a landlord can legally come inside your apartment. First up, repairs and maintenance. If you reported a leaky pipe, obviously they can come fix it. Second, showings, like if your lease is ending and they need to show the unit to future tenants or buyers. Third, periodic inspections, which most states do allow as long as the landlord has a legitimate reason. Now notice a trend here. For those first 3 reasons, they still absolutely require that proper 24-hour advance notice we just talked about. But it's that 4th reason, emergencies, that acts as the one big exception to the rule. And this brilliantly illustrates that exact exception. Notice the stark difference between a real legal emergency and what is definitely not an emergency. An actual emergency is stuff like a fire, a massive gas leak, or flooding. It's a genuine, immediate threat to your safety or the property itself. In those cases, no notice is needed, and frankly, you want them coming in for those situations. Contrast that with them just checking to see if the fridge is working, or claiming they were just in the neighborhood. Those are casual excuses that landlords sometimes use to try and bypass the notice rule. Well, the law doesn't buy that for a second. An emergency has a very strict legal definition. Moving right along to Section 3, when entry is illegal. Let's clearly lay out these strict no-goes. First, casual snooping without notice, totally illegal, full stop. Second, harassment via repeated inspections. They cannot use inspections as a sneaky loophole to pressure you or make you uncomfortable enough to move out. Courts take that super seriously. Third, demanding you be home. Look, if they give proper notice, they can usually enter when you aren't there, but they cannot legally force you to stay home from work just to accommodate them. And fourth, retaliation. This one is huge. If you reported a housing code violation to the city and suddenly your landlord is showing up every week to intimidate you, that is illegal retaliation. It's actually a completely separate, very serious legal violation designed specifically to protect tenants who speak up. Just to show you how seriously the courts actually take this stuff, consider the law out in California. If a landlord repeatedly enters without proper notice, tenants can actually sue for financial damages and secure a court order to legally force them to stop the illegal entries. Think about that for a second. You can literally take them to court and have a judge order them to stay out. A lot of states have similar, incredibly strong protections in place. Your privacy is backed up by real legal consequences.
All right, let's transition into Section 4, Steps to Protect Yourself.
So the crucial point here is knowing exactly what to do if an unauthorized entry actually happens to you. Here is a structured, really empowering 5-step playbook. Step 1, document everything. I mean, everything. Write down the dates, the times, what was moved, take photos, keep a meticulous log. Step 2, send a written notice to your landlord. Step 3, check your state's specific laws. Step 4, if the behavior continues, file a formal complaint with your local housing authority or small claims court. And step 5, consult a tenant rights attorney for serious situations, especially anything involving harassment. Let's actually zoom in on a couple of these actionable steps.
For step 2, sending a written notice, you can literally just copy and paste this exact template. I want to remind you that under state law, you are required to give me at least 24 hours notice before entering my unit. Please ensure this is followed going forward. You can shoot this over in a text or an email. By doing this, you are creating a vital paper trail without being unnecessarily aggressive. You are simply and firmly stating the law.
Now, what's really interesting here is how it proves why step 3, checking your local state laws, is so absolutely vital. Remember how we said 24 hours is the norm? Well, in Vermont, the law requires a full 48 hours of notice. And over in Virginia, they require a massive 72 hours of notice specifically for routine maintenance. The local rules vary wildly all across the country, so knowing the exact number for your specific state gives you the ultimate leverage when you're dealing with your landlord.
Which leaves us with one final, powerful question to wrap up our explainer. Is your apartment truly your home if you don't enforce your legal right to privacy? The bottom line is this. Your apartment is your private space. The landlord is not above the rules, and the law in most U.S. states is firmly in your corner here. Now you know your rights, and you know exactly how to enforce them. Make sure you check out your local resources to find the specific entry laws for your state, take control of your space, and never let anyone make you feel like a guest in your own home.